Sir, step back from that cockpit. Now. The Boeing 777 shutters at 34,000 feet. Both pilots unconscious, 168 passengers screaming, and Derek Walsh, lead flight attendant, is blocking an 82-year-old man in a faded leather jacket from the controls. You're confused, sir. Return to your seat. But Robert Mercer isn't confused. His hands, scarred, steady, reach for the yoke as the stall warning screams. Derek sees an old man playing hero. He doesn't see the call sign hidden in that jacket. He doesn't see phantom steel. The cabin of Transatlantic Flight 903 sits pressurized and climate-controlled at 34,000 feet. Overhead bins cast shadows in the dimmed lighting. The hum of twin engines creates a steady white noise. Rows of passengers occupy blue fabric seats, some sleeping, others watching movies on small screens. The air carries the faint scent of recycled oxygen and coffee from the galley. Robert Mercer, 82 years old, occupies seat 14B in the economy section. His frame appears slight beneath the brown leather jacket he wears even in the cabin's warmth. The jacket's surface shows wear. Creases at the elbows, fading along the shoulders. His hands rest on the armrests, fingers relaxed but ready. The knuckles are prominent, marked by old scars that form white lines across weathered skin. His eyes, pale blue, the color of winter sky, track the movements of the flight crew. A young flight attendant passes, her name tag reading, Jennifer. She smiles automatically, checking seatbelts. Behind her, another attendant pushes a beverage cart. The wheels squeak slightly on the aisle carpet. Robert's gaze shifts to the cockpit door. It stands closed, secured by the post-9/11 protocols that transformed aviation. The reinforced barrier separates passengers from pilots. Through the small window, he glimpses the glow of instrument panels. The captain's voice comes through the intercom, smooth and practiced. Ladies and gentlemen, we're cruising at 34,000 feet. Weather ahead looks clear. Should have you on the ground in about 4 hours. 4 hours. Robert's jaw tightens fractionally. He's flown longer missions than that in aircraft with far less comfort. His right hand moves unconsciously to his chest, fingers brushing the leather over his heart. Beneath the jacket, hidden from view, a patch rests sewn into the inner lining. The fabric shows an eagle rendered in silver thread, its wings spread wide against a field of black. Below it, 2 words in block letters. Phantom steel. The memory surfaces without warning. He's 28 years old, strapped into an F-4 Phantom over the dark jungles of Vietnam. His wingman's voice crackles through the radio. Phantom steel, we have multiple bogies inbound. Orders are to engage. The night sky erupts with tracer fire, green and red lines cutting through darkness. His hands move across the controls with practiced precision, rolling the fighter into a dive that pulls 4 Gs. The MiG appears in his gun sight for just 2 seconds. That's all he needs. Sir, would you like something to drink? The voice pulls him back. Jennifer stands beside his seat, cart positioned in the aisle. Her smile is professional, patient. Robert blinks once, the memory dissolving. Water, he says. His voice is rough, textured by decades of shouting over jet engines. Please. She pours from a plastic bottle into a clear cup, ice cubes clinking. As she hands it to him, the plane gives a slight shudder. Nothing alarming, just normal turbulence. But Robert's body responds instantly. His spine straightens, his eyes narrow. His left hand grips the armrest, and for a moment, he's not in an airliner. He's in a cockpit, feeling the aircraft speak to him through vibration and sound. Jennifer notices nothing. She's already moving to the next row. 3 rows ahead, Derek Walsh reviews his tablet. As lead flight attendant, he manages the crew, ensures protocols are followed, maintains order. He's 28 years old, impeccably groomed, his hair styled with precision. His uniform shows crisp creases. A small pin on his lapel indicates 5 years of service. He prides himself on knowing every regulation, every procedure. The handbook is his Bible. He glances back through the cabin, a habitual scan. Everything appears normal. Passengers settled, no issues. He returns his attention to the tablet, checking the meal service schedule for first class. In the cockpit, Captain Michael Torres leans back in his seat. His co-pilot, David Chen, handles the controls. The autopilot manages most of the work, keeping them on course, maintaining altitude. The instruments glow green and white. Outside the windscreen, stars pierce the darkness above a blanket of clouds below. "Coffee?" Torres asks. "Sure," Chen replies. Torres unbuckles, stands. The cockpit is small, cramped with technology. He steps toward the door, pressing the intercom. "Derek, can you bring 2 coffees forward?" "Copy that, Captain." Torres sits back down. He rubs his eyes. It's been a long shift. Transatlantic routes always drain more energy than domestic hops. The body rebels against crossing time zones, against sitting still for hours while maintaining absolute focus. Chen adjusts a dial. Fuel looks good. Weather ahead is... His words cut off. His body goes rigid. Torres looks over. "David?" Chen's hands clutch the armrests. His face contorts. A choking sound escapes his throat. Then he slumps forward, unconscious, his weight pressing against the control yoke. "David!" Torres reaches across, trying to pull him back, but as his hands touch Chen's shoulder, pain explodes in his own chest. Sharp, crushing, radiating down his left arm. The cockpit blurs. His breath comes in short gasps. The plane, sensing the forward pressure on the yoke, begins to descend. Before we continue, if stories of quiet dignity and unsung heroes resonate with you, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. This story reminds us that true authority isn't found in a title. It's earned through action when it matters most. I read every comment. The descent alarm begins to sound, a steady electronic tone that cuts through the cockpit. In the cabin, passengers feel the change immediately. The angle shifts. Stomachs rise. Conversations stop mid-sentence. Jennifer drops the water bottle. It hits the cart, bounces, rolls down the tilted aisle. Her eyes go wide. Something's wrong. Derek looks up from his tablet. The plane's nose is down. Not a gentle descent for landing. Something sharper, uncontrolled. He unclips his seatbelt. Stands. The tilt makes walking difficult. He grabs seatbacks for balance, moving toward the cockpit. Behind him, passengers begin to murmur. The murmur becomes voices. The voices become shouts. "What's happening? Are we crashing? Oh God, oh God!" Derek reaches the cockpit door. He enters the security code, yanks it open. The scene inside freezes him. Both pilots slumped. The control yoke pressed forward. The altimeter unwinding. 33, 0 feet. 32, 800. 32, 600. His training kicks in. He grabs the intercom. "Medical emergency in the cockpit. Is there a doctor on board? We need a doctor immediately." The words barely leave his mouth when Robert Mercer appears beside him. Derek didn't hear him approach, didn't see him stand, but the old man is there, moving past him, entering the cockpit with the confidence of someone who belongs. "Sir, stop." Derek's hand shoots out, grabs Robert's shoulder. "You can't be in here. This area is restricted." Robert doesn't respond. His eyes scan the instruments, the altimeter, the artificial horizon, the engine indicators. His right hand moves toward the yoke. Derek's grip tightens. "Sir, I am ordering you to return to your seat, now." "Both pilots are unconscious," Robert says. His voice is calm, measured. "This aircraft is in an uncontrolled descent. Someone needs to fly it." The autopilot maintains course and altitude when conditions are stable. Robert's eyes don't leave the instruments. Look at the artificial horizon. We're nose down at 7 degrees. The autopilot can't correct for pilot-induced input. The captain's weight is pushing the yoke forward. Derek's jaw tightens. "You don't understand what you're looking at. This is a Boeing 777. It's not some Cessna you flew at a county airport 40 years ago." For the first time, Robert turns his head. His pale blue eyes meet Derek's. There's no anger in them, no frustration. Just an absolute, terrifying calm. "Son," he says quietly, "if you don't let me sit down, everyone on this plane will be dead in 4 minutes." Derek's hand trembles on Robert's shoulder. Around them, the situation accelerates. Jennifer appears at the door, her face pale. "Derek, passengers are panicking. They're screaming. What do we tell them?" "Tell them to remain seated," Derek snaps. But his authority sounds hollow even to himself. The plane shudders. Turbulence. Or something worse. A woman's scream rises from the cabin, high and piercing. Others join it. The collective sound is primal, the noise of prey sensing the predator. Robert gently removes Derek's hand from his shoulder. The movement is firm but not aggressive. He steps fully into the cockpit, positions himself beside the captain's seat. "What are you doing?" Derek's voice rises. You're not authorized." Robert reaches down, unbuckles Captain Torres. With surprising strength for his age, he pulls the unconscious pilot back from the controls. Torres slumps to the side, his weight no longer pressing the yoke. But the descent continues. The autopilot, confused by the conflicting inputs, has disengaged. A warning chime sounds. The plane is falling, unpowered. A 300-ton glider dropping through the night sky. Robert slides into the captain's seat. His hands find the yoke. His feet locate the rudder pedals. Around him, the cockpit comes alive, not with new alarms, but with a presence. The aircraft responds to his touch the way a horse responds to a skilled rider. Derek watches, paralyzed. He sees an old man in a leather jacket, hands spotted with age, sitting in a captain's seat. The image is wrong. Impossible. Like watching someone's grandfather climb behind the wheel of a Formula One car. But then Derek's eyes drop to those hands on the controls. They're not shaking. They're not fumbling. They move with absolute precision, adjusting trim, throttle, checking gauges, and slowly, impossibly, the nose begins to rise. The Boeing 777 levels out at 31,000 feet. The descent stops. The nose comes up. In the cabin, the screaming fades to shocked silence. Passengers grip armrests, their knuckles white, eyes wide. The plane is flying level again. Jennifer stares into the cockpit. "How did he—" "I don't know," Derek whispers. His mind races, trying to reconcile what he's seeing with what he knows to be possible. Old men don't fly 777s. They don't recover from near stalls. They don't— Robert's voice cuts through his thoughts. "I need you to contact air traffic control. Tell them we have a pilot incapacitation, both crew members. Tell them I'm flying the aircraft and maintaining altitude." Derek doesn't move. "Who are you?" "Someone who knows how to fly." Robert adjusts a dial, his movements economical. "The radio, now." Derek's hand reaches for the radio handset. His training overrides his confusion. In an emergency, communicate. Follow protocol. He keys the mic. "Air traffic control. This is Transatlantic 903. We have a medical emergency. Both pilots incapacitated. Aircraft is being controlled by—" He pauses. "By a passenger." The response comes immediately, sharp with urgency. "Transatlantic 903. Confirm both pilots incapacitated. What is the passenger's qualification?" Derek looks at Robert. "Sir, they're asking about your qualifications." Robert's eyes remain on the instruments. "Tell them I have flight experience." "He says he has flight experience," Derek relays. "We need specifics. Is he commercially rated? What aircraft has he flown?" Derek puts his hand over the mic. "Sir, they need to know—" "Military," Robert says. The word is flat, final. "Fighter aircraft." Derek blinks. "Fighter aircraft." The words don't match the image. This man with his weathered face and brown leather jacket. Fighter aircraft. He keys the mic. He says military. Fighter aircraft. There's a pause on the other end. When the controller speaks again, his tone has shifted. Professional curiosity mixing with something else. "Transatlantic 903, we're going to need more information. Can you ask him his name and what aircraft he's qualified on?" Robert reaches into his jacket pocket. His fingers find his wallet. Leather, cracked with age. He fumbles with it one-handed, his right hand never leaving the yoke. From inside, he pulls out a laminated card, his pilot's license. He hands it to Derek. Derek stares at the card. The photo shows a younger version of the man beside him, maybe 60 years old. But the eyes are the same, pale, steady. The name reads, Robert Mercer. The ratings list multiple endorsements. Multi-engine, instrument, commercial. The expiration date is current. He has a license, Derek says into the radio. Commercial rated, current. That's good, the controller responds. But a commercial license doesn't cover a 777. We need to know his specific experience. Robert's jaw tightens fractionally. Without looking away from the instruments, he speaks. Tell them I flew F-4 Phantoms. Tell them Vietnam, 287 combat missions. Derek repeats the information mechanically. He flew F-4 Phantoms, Vietnam War, 287 combat missions. The radio goes silent. 5 seconds pass. 10. Derek can hear his own heartbeat in the quiet. When the controller returns, his voice has changed completely. The professional detachment is gone, replaced by something Derek can't quite identify. Awe, maybe. Or disbelief. Transatlantic 903. We're clearing all traffic in your vicinity. You have priority handling. Can you ask the pilot? A pause. Can you ask him if he has a call sign? Derek turns to Robert. They want to know if you have a call sign. Robert's fingers brush the leather of his jacket again, touching the spot over his heart where the patch rests hidden. The memory surfaces. Younger men in a ready room, slapping his shoulder. The name spoken with respect, and a trace of fear. The phantom who flew like steel, cold and precise and unstoppable. Phantom Steel, he says quietly. Derek keys the mic. His call sign is Phantom Steel. The radio explodes with static. Then a new voice comes through, deeper, older, commanding. Transatlantic 903, this is NORAD Command Center. Did you say Phantom Steel? Affirmative, Derek replies. Phantom Steel. Another pause. Then, stand by. Derek looks at Robert. The old man flies the plane with the kind of unconscious competence that comes from thousands of hours in the air. His scan pattern, instruments to horizon to instruments, is textbook. But more than that, it's instinctive. What's happening? Derek asks. Robert doesn't answer. His eyes track something through the windscreen. Dark shapes in the distance, barely visible against the night sky. But what nobody knew was that hidden within NORAD's classified database, one name still carried a flag, a legend from an era of air combat that would never come again. At the NORAD Command Center buried deep within Cheyenne Mountain, General Patricia Hayes stands before a wall of screens. The main display shows a blinking transponder code, Transatlantic 903. Around her, operators work their stations with controlled urgency. Confirm that call sign, she orders. A young lieutenant types rapidly. Cross-referencing now, General. His screen fills with data. Most of it is redacted, black bars covering names, dates, operations. But one field remains clear. Phantom Steel. Service, 1966-1994. Rank, Brigadier General. Status, retired. Hayes's breath catches. She was 7 years old when Phantom Steel flew his last combat mission. But she knows the name. Every fighter pilot knows the name. Get me the 4th fighter wing, she says. I want 2 F-35s in the air in 3 minutes. Their mission is escort. Full honors. The lieutenant looks up. General, full honors protocol is reserved for... I know what it's reserved for. Her voice is steel. Execute. In the cockpit of Transatlantic 903, Robert maintains steady flight. Behind him, Derek has backed against the galley wall. His mind struggles to process what's happening. The radio chatter has become more intense. NORAD is involved. Military channels, words like escort and priority clearance. Jennifer appears at his shoulder. Derek, what's going on? Who is this man? I don't know. Derek's voice is hollow. He says he's a pilot, Vietnam, but that was 50 years ago. Robert's voice cuts in, calm and steady. 52 years since my last combat mission. 28 years since I retired. Derek stares at the back of his head. You're a general? Was. Robert adjusts the heading slightly. Just a man now. The memory comes without permission. Robert is 26 years old, his flight suit soaked with sweat in the suffocating heat of a Thai airbase. His squadron has lost 3 pilots in 2 weeks. The new guys, fresh from training, barely old enough to drink, look at him with a mixture of fear and hope. He's the one who comes back. Always comes back. His wingman, a kid named Stevens, asks him the question they all want to ask. How do you do it, sir? How do you stay so calm up there? Robert remembers his answer. Because panic is a luxury. When you're at Mach 1 with a MiG on your 6 and SAM alarms screaming, you don't have time to be afraid. You just fly. Stevens died 2 days later, shot down over Hanoi. Robert flew the mission to recover his body. They never found it. I need to check on the pilots, Jennifer says. She squeezes past Derek, kneels beside Captain Torres. She checks his pulse, weak but present. His breathing is shallow. He's alive, but he needs medical attention immediately. Robert nods once. How long until we can land? Derek forces himself to think. At our current position and speed, maybe 90 minutes to the nearest suitable airport. 90 minutes. Robert's fingers tighten on the yoke. These men need help now. The radio crackles. Transatlantic 903. This is NORAD Command. We are vectoring you to McCord Air Force Base. Medical teams are being prepared. You have full priority. All airspace is being cleared. Robert keys the mic himself. Copy NORAD, McCord Air Force Base, requesting approach vectors. Vectors being transmitted now, sir. The controller's voice carries unmistakable respect. And, sir, it's an honor. Derek watches this exchange with growing unreality. The military is treating this old man like... Through the cockpit window, shapes materialize from the darkness. 2 aircraft, sleek and angular, appear on either side of the 777. F-35 Lightning fighters, the most advanced combat jets in the world. They take up position in perfect formation, their running lights creating points of red and green in the night. The radio crackles with a new voice. Young, clear, reverent. Phantom Steel, this is Ghost Lead. We have you visual. We are your escort, sir. The sky is yours. Robert's jaw works. For a moment, emotion threatens to break through the decades of discipline, but he pushes it down. Copy, Ghost Lead. Good to see you. Derek's legs feel weak. He slides down the wall until he's sitting on the galley floor. Fighter jets, military escort, full honors. The words spin in his head. People assume authority comes from a title, from a uniform, from a place in the hierarchy. They forget that true authority is earned in moments when everything depends on what you do next. Robert Mercer earned his authority in the skies over Southeast Asia, one mission at a time, one decision at a time. The world moved on. Wars ended. Technology advanced. But the authority remained, waiting for the moment it would be needed again. And in seat 14B, hidden beneath a leather jacket, a patch with a silver eagle bore silent witness to a truth Derek was only beginning to understand. The F-35s hold position off each wingtip, matching the 777's speed exactly. Inside Ghost Lead's cockpit, Captain Sarah Chen watches her instruments while stealing glances at the massive airliner beside her. Her squadron commander's briefing had been brief and stunning. You're escorting Phantom Steel. Look it up if you don't know the name. And Chen, don't screw this up. She'd looked it up. The records were mostly classified, but the summary was enough. Robert Mercer. 287 combat missions. Kill record that remained redacted even after 50 years. The man who'd flown through hell and come back with his wingmen alive. The ghost in the machine. In the 777's cabin, passengers press against windows. The sight of military fighters in close formation has transformed the panic into stunned silence. Phones come out. People film. A child asks his mother, "Are we important?" Derek stands now, his legs unsteady. He watches Robert fly the plane with hands that don't shake, eyes that don't blink. The old man makes micro-adjustments to trim and throttle with the casual precision of someone who's done this 10,000 times. "How did you end up on this flight?" Derek asks. His voice is quiet, almost a whisper. Robert doesn't turn. "I was visiting my daughter in London, flying home." "Do you still fly?" "Not like this. Small planes. A Cessna 172 I keep at a local airfield." His eyes track the artificial horizon. "But flying is flying. The principles don't change." "A 777 is different from a Cessna." "Yes." Robert's mouth twitches, not quite a smile. "It's bigger." The radio crackles. "Transatlantic 903, McCord approach control. We have you on radar. Begin descent to 25,000 feet. Runway 16 is cleared. Emergency equipment is standing by." Robert acknowledges, then eases the throttles back. The nose drops slightly. The descent is so smooth that passengers barely feel it. In the cabin, a man starts clapping. Others join. The sound builds, a wave of relief and gratitude directed at an old man they can't see. Derek's hands shake. The adrenaline that's been keeping him upright begins to fade, leaving exhaustion in its wake. I thought you were confused. I know. I almost forced you out of the cockpit." "Yes." "We would have crashed." Robert glances at him for the first time since taking the controls. His pale eyes hold no judgment. "You were following your training. That's not wrong, but sometimes the situation exceeds the training." Jennifer appears with bottles of water. She hands one to Robert, who drinks without taking his eyes off the instruments. She offers one to Derek, but he waves it away. "The pilots," Robert says. "How are they?" "Stable," Jennifer reports. "Pulse and breathing are regular, but they're still unconscious." "Heart attacks," Robert says. "It's not a question. Both of them. Simultaneous. The odds are astronomical." "Bad luck," Derek mutters, "or bad catering." Robert's voice is dry. "They ate the fish." Despite everything, Derek almost laughs. The absurdity of the reference, the old airplane movie joke, cuts through the tension, but the laugh dies in his throat because they're not in a movie. This is real. The altimeter shows 27,000 feet and descending. The lights of Seattle appear on the horizon, a constellation of human habitation against the darkness. The F-35s remain in position. Ghost lead keys her mic. "Phantom Steel, we'll be with you all the way to touchdown. You're not alone up here, sir." "Appreciated, Ghost lead." Robert's voice carries warmth. "How long have you been flying fighters?" 4 years, sir. This is my first operational escort." "You're doing fine. Keep your scan going. Don't fixate." "Yes, sir." Derek listens to this exchange. The easy professionalism, the mutual respect. Two pilots separated by 50 years and thousands of hours, connected by the same sky, the same calling. He realizes he's witnessing something rare, not just a man flying a plane, but a passing of knowledge, a continuity of excellence that transcends time. When the truth was revealed, not through words but through action, it didn't arrive with fanfare. It came in the steady hands on the controls, the calm voice on the radio, the way an old man in a leather jacket made a 300-ton aircraft dance through the sky as if it weighed nothing at all. The revelation was simple and absolute. Greatness doesn't advertise, it simply is. McCord Air Force Base sits south of Seattle, its runways capable of handling the largest military transports. Tonight, every light on the field blazes. Fire trucks line the taxiway, their red lights spinning. Ambulances wait with rear doors open. A crowd of personnel stands behind the crash barrier. Aircrew, maintenance, officers. Word has spread through the base with the speed of wildfire. Phantom Steel is coming in. In the tower, controllers watch their scopes with held breath. The 777 appears as a bright return on radar, flanked by two smaller contacts, the F-35s. The formation descends through 10,000 feet, then 5,000. Robert's hands rest light on the yoke. His eyes move in the eternal scan pattern. Airspeed, altitude, Artificial horizon, heading. The runway appears ahead, a ribbon of light stretching into the darkness. He's landed aircraft in conditions far worse than this, on carriers pitching in heavy seas, on damaged runways under fire, on jungle strips that were barely more than cleared earth. But this time, he has 168 lives depending on him, not just his own, not just his wingman, all of them. Gear down, he says. Derek, standing behind the captain's seat, doesn't know what he means. Jennifer leans forward and points. That lever. Derek pulls it. The landing gear extends with a heavy mechanical thunk. 3 green lights illuminate on the panel. Flaps to 15, Robert instructs. Derek finds the control, moves it. The plane's nose rises slightly as the wing flaps deploy. You're doing great, Jennifer whispers. Derek doesn't know if she's talking to him or to Robert. Ghost Lead's voice comes through. Phantom Steel, we're breaking off for landing pattern. You're cleared for final approach, sir. A pause. Bring them home safe. That's the plan. Robert's voice is steady. The F-35s peel away in perfect synchronization, climbing back into the night. The 777 continues alone, descending through 0 feet. The runway grows larger. Robert makes minute corrections. A touch of aileron here, a hint of rudder there. The aircraft responds to him like an extension of his own body. At 500 feet, the automated voice calls out, 500. At 200 feet, 200. The runway rushes up. Robert eases back on the throttles. The nose comes up slightly. The main gear kisses the concrete with barely a bump, a landing so smooth that passengers who'd been gripping armrests in terror suddenly realize they're on the ground. The cockpit erupts with automated voices. 70 knots. 60 knots. Robert applies brakes with careful pressure. The massive aircraft slows, decelerating smoothly. At 30 knots, he steers toward the taxiway where emergency vehicles wait. When the plane finally stops, Robert sits back. His hands remain on the controls for a moment longer, as if reluctant to let go. Then, slowly, he releases them. He takes a breath. Deep. Shuddering. It's the first sign of emotion he's shown since sitting down. Derek's legs give out. He sits heavily on the cockpit floor. Tears stream down his face. You did it. Jesus Christ, you actually did it. The cabin erupts in cheers. Passengers are crying, hugging strangers, calling loved ones. The terror has transformed into joy, pure and unfiltered. The cockpit door opens. Paramedics rush in, moving immediately to the unconscious pilots. They work with practiced efficiency, checking vitals, preparing transport. Behind them, a figure in a general's uniform steps through. General Patricia Hayes stops at the cockpit threshold. She's 59 years old, a career fighter pilot herself with 3 0 hours in F-16s. She's commanded wings, led combat operations, briefed presidents. But standing before Robert Mercer, she feels like a lieutenant fresh out of flight school. She brings her hand up in a salute. Sharp, precise, held. General Mercer, she says, on behalf of the United States Air Force and everyone on this aircraft, thank you, sir. Robert unfastens his seatbelt. His movements are stiff now, the adrenaline fading to reveal the 82-year-old body beneath. He stands slowly and returns the salute. Just doing what needed to be done, General. Hayes drops her salute but doesn't move. Sir, we have medical standing by for you as well. And the FAA will want to debrief. I'm fine. Robert's voice carries a note of finality. See to the passengers. See to your people. I'll answer whatever questions they have. He steps past her, out of the cockpit, into the cabin. Passengers see him emerging. The cheering intensifies. Hands reach out to touch him, to shake his hand, to simply acknowledge what he's done. He accepts it with quiet grace, nodding to people, murmuring thanks. Derek stands at the cockpit door, watching him go. The old man in the leather jacket disappears into the crowd of grateful survivors, and Derek understands finally what he'd been too blind to see before. Authority isn't given, it's earned, and once earned, it never truly fades. 3 weeks later, Robert Mercer sits in a leather armchair in his living room in Spokane, Washington. Afternoon light filters through sheer curtains. On the wall, a shadow box holds his medals: the Air Force Cross, the Silver Star, the Distinguished Flying Cross. Below them, his old flight jacket hangs on a wooden stand, the phantom steel patch visible on the chest. The television plays quietly. A news segment shows footage of the landing at McCord. The reporter's voice carries reverent tones. The hero pilot who saved 168 lives has declined all interview requests, preferring to remain private. Robert mutes it. He's heard enough. The story has been told and retold, each version adding embellishments he doesn't recognize. They make him larger than life. They miss the truth. A knock at the door pulls him from his thoughts. He stands, his knees protesting slightly, and walks to the entrance. Through the window, he sees a familiar figure. Derek Walsh stands on the porch, hands in his pockets. He's dressed in civilian clothes, jeans, a sweater. His hair, usually styled with precision, falls naturally across his forehead. Robert opens the door. "Mr. Walsh." "Sir." Derek's voice is quiet. "I hope I'm not intruding. I got your address from the airline. They said you'd agreed to be contacted." "For you, yes." Robert steps back. "Come in." They sit in the living room. Robert doesn't offer coffee or small talk. He simply waits. Derek's eyes roam the room, taking in the medals, the photographs of younger men in flight suits, the models of aircraft on shelves. "I came to apologize," Derek finally says, "for what I said, for what I almost did." Robert waves a hand. "Already forgotten." "I haven't forgotten," Derek's voice firms. "I was so focused on being right, on following the rules, that I almost killed everyone, including myself." "You were scared." "That's no excuse." Robert leans back in his chair. "Fear is the most natural human reaction to danger. You didn't run. You didn't hide. You tried to manage the situation with the tools you had. That takes courage, even if the tools were wrong." Derek looks at his hands. "The airline suspended me, pending investigation. They might not let me fly again." "That's their decision." Robert's voice is matter-of-fact. "But I'll tell you what I told General Hayes. You're not the problem. The system is. There should be protocols for exactly this kind of situation. There should be a way to identify qualified volunteers. That's not on you to solve." "The Mercer Protocol," Derek says. "I heard they're implementing it. Named after you. Named after the situation." Robert stands, walks to a bookshelf. He pulls down a wooden box, opens it. Inside, nestled in velvet, is another patch, identical to the one on his jacket, but pristine, unworn. He hands it to Derek. "What's this?" "A reminder." Robert sits back down. "When I was a young pilot, my commander gave me that patch. He said it represented what I'd become in the air, something my enemies couldn't see coming, couldn't predict, couldn't stop. But it also represented a responsibility. To be better than the situation demands. To act when others freeze." Derek holds the patch carefully, as if it might break. "I don't deserve this." "You're right. You don't. Not yet." Robert's pale eyes hold steady. "But you will. Because you came here. Because you're willing to learn." That's where it starts. They sit in comfortable silence. Outside, a plane passes overhead. A commercial jet on approach to Spokane International. Both men's eyes track it automatically, the shared instinct of those who understand flight. Derek stands to leave. At the door, he turns back. "Sir, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "When you took those controls, were you scared?" Robert considers the question. "Terrified." The answer surprises Derek. "But you seemed so calm." "Calm and fearless aren't the same thing." Robert's voice carries the weight of hard-won wisdom. "I was afraid of failing, afraid of letting those people down. But fear doesn't matter. What matters is what you do despite the fear." Derek nods slowly. He extends his hand. Robert shakes it, a firm grip, equal to equal. After Derek leaves, Robert returns to his chair. He picks up a framed photograph from the side table. It shows a younger version of himself standing beside an F-4 Phantom, his flight suit unzipped, his face split by a cocky grin. Behind him, other pilots from his squadron. Some of them didn't make it home. The people who protect us most are often the ones we never see. The missions that save lives never make the news. The quiet professionals who step forward when needed don't do it for recognition. They do it because someone must. And sometimes the voice you dismiss as irrelevant is the one that knows exactly what needs to be done. Robert places the photo back on the table. Through the window, another plane crosses the sky, its contrails catching the afternoon light. He watches it until it disappears beyond the horizon, carrying passengers who will never know that somewhere below, a man who understands the weight of their trust sits in quiet contemplation. The sky continues on. Pilots fly, passengers trust. And in the spaces between panic and safety, legends wait, not for glory, but for the moment when their experience will matter most. To everyone who shared where you're watching from, thank you for recognizing those who serve in silence. Subscribe for more stories of unsung American heroes who prove that the greatest acts of courage often come from the most unexpected places. See you in the next one.